hold on. Now I'm actually also live on YouTube. I'm still getting used to this being live on YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So there's Molly Sheehan, there's Lindy Lee, there's George Beatty, there's Larry Arata, there's Mary Gay Scanlon, there is Rich Laser. Sorry, makes me want to throw up a little bit. There is Shelley Chauncey. There is, let's see, there's literally like 15. So we have, just trying to keep track of everyone I tell you about. There's Lindy Lee, Molly Sheehan, Mary Arata, George Beatty, Shelley Chauncey, Mary Gay Scanlon, David Wertheim, Ann Muroff, Rich Laser. 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I know I'm missing some. I have 10 listed so far, but I know there's a good amount of people running. And it's a little hard to keep track, but those are the amount of people that are running in this race on the Democratic side. And recently, I had an interaction with Larry Arata, and I'm not going to necessarily say the specifics of what we talked about, but I am going to say that he made claims that certain candidates have shady money coming in, shady donations. This candidate is one that I happen to be supporting pretty ardently. And I haven't entirely made up my mind who I'm really going to be voting for in the primary. I'm kind of stuck between two candidates right now. But regardless of that, I think it's hard for someone to really make that claim unless they really have looked into that person's specific campaign donations. And he did mention that on April 1st, everyone is supposed to be filing. So, everyone in the PA-5 Congressional District, please look at these filings of their campaign donations on April 1st. So they'll probably be available, I'm guessing, on April 2nd. So if that's Easter. Excuse me. So look into that, because it might make or break your decision to support one candidate over the other. And could be very telling. So, yes. And then another thing I wanted to talk about. So George Beatty is one of the candidates that's running for Congress in the 5th Congressional District. And recently, or one former candidate now, Mary Ellen Balkunis, she decided to drop out of the race and not file anything and endorse George Beatty. That's a fine decision if you want to make that decision. However, here's something I'm going to say. I've had phone conversations with George Beatty. I have known George Beatty, even somewhat personally, for the past 2 years. Ironically, my sister, or actually technically half-sister, a lot of you don't know, but I'm actually a result of artificial insemination. So, meaning my mom was artificially inseminated, and I'm that result. But my sister, her half sister, dated his son. So I know him a little bit more personally than someone else would. And one thing that I've come to know is on some level he's a progressive, but he's also chair of the Radnor Democrats. As the chair of a party, your goal should be to recruit progressive candidates and support their initiatives to run if they want to run. Now, when I ran for judge of elections in my precinct, which is falls under the Radnor Democrats area, he was supportive of that because there was no Democratic incumbent, right? When I told him I was thinking about running for something else, when there was a Democratic incumbent, his answer to me was, well, I don't know if you should do that because it might create ill will amongst the community. Isn't that part of a healthy democracy? A healthy democracy that where you're supposed to have arguments among community members and among people who feel that they're more leftist than the person that's currently center left? Aren't you supposed to have that healthy dis- discourse? Isn't that what being in a democracy is about? And I think what infuriated me when he told me that, he then, a week later, decided to jump into the race, the congressional race, where there, as I mentioned, I think at the time there were 15 other candidates running. That's literally so messed up, and it really infuriates me enough to say that two things. One, he's not a progressive. And two, don't vote for him because he likes to tell all the progressives that you don't have a chance. Because, well, that's not progressive. And that doesn't foster democracy at all. It's the opposite. Um, and it's kind of upsetting, I guess. So that's that. That's really all I really. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is apparently also Joe Sestak has decided to endorse George Beatty as well. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know enough personally about Joe Sestak. I know he was representative of the former seventh, I think maybe from 2001 to 2007. Okay, but I guess a question that I'm going to put out to you guys is, does an endorsement from a former politician really make or break your decision to support a candidate? Because for me, it doesn't, unless it's a true progressive candidate, like Bernie Sanders. Like, if Bernie Sanders endorsed one of the congressional candidates, I may really have to consider or look into that. I'm not saying that I would vote for that person, but I'm saying that might impact me on some level. So all I'm really going to say is I would vote for the candidate and their policies rather than what or who they're endorsed by because it doesn't entirely matter as much. So that's all. And I guess another thing that I wanted to say is I wanted to talk about um, the March for Our Lives. So, and specifically, I wanted to talk about this one photo that I think I may have uploaded. Um, let's see. Hold on. So hold on one second, guys. I know. Um, so, hold on. Hold on, you guys. I'm coming. Okay. So yesterday was the March for Our Lives, right? But it was also this. So I met this person at the Philadelphia March for Our Lives, and I'm looking at a picture that I took of him on my Facebook. It says, "Save Afrin, stop Turkish jihadist terrorism in Syria." That is going on now, and people are dying, and they shouldn't be. um, and apparently, yesterday was an anniversary of sorts since this happened. So it would be really important if you were to look into that and try to figure out what you can or can't do, or what you can do to try to help the people that are there that are currently being impacted by the war zone, essentially. Because we are directly fueling that war. We are fueling the deaths of kids across seas. And most of us don't even know it. So it would be important for you to look into that and try to understand and see what you can or can't do, or try to get your local representative or congressperson to do something about, because it matters. Um, and other than that, I wanted to talk about the March for Our Lives in Philly. I didn't go the whole time, but it was a very good march. And I have to say, I did get into it with one older woman who said that Senator Casey is not that bad, not as bad as Republicans, and he is not. But he is certainly not a friend to progressives. I know that there is I think, a libertarian now running against him, as Teresa Wright is no longer, because she did not file enough petitions or enough signatures. Um, so look into the libertarian if you live in PA. Consider possibly maybe voting for the libertarian. I don't know if that would work or not, but consider that. Um, I know Senator Casey was at the march in Philly yesterday, and I heard him speak. I did not see him. I did ironically meet Mayor Kenny. He is the mayor of Philadelphia. Very, very briefly. I took a picture with him. I did not actually upload it yet, but he's there. He was there. I heard a woman from Columbine speak on stage, and saw her speak. A lot of it was very moving, and it's just so frustrating that we have to fight for this issue. I mean, I'm a librarian. I'm not saying that I'm a librarian that works right now, currently, at an academic university and or academic library. And I'm not scared necessarily to go into work, but there's always the threat that something's going to happen, and you never know when something will happen. So it's kind of important to just try to vote for candidates that are not owned by anyone but the people. Because if that happens, then we can get campaign finance reform. And when we get campaign finance reform, we can get people that actually would support initiatives that the people want to see happen, like gun legislation, like background check legislation, like single payer legislation, like universal basic income legislation, like free college legislation, like universal pre-K legislation, like getting money out of politics, period. If we can get get that, if we can all do that in our different areas and do it to the best that we can. And I know it's hard. I know it's hard. I can't do it right now. I can't donate even a dollar to any candidate. It's just not something I can do, unfortunately, in my own life. But I can at least try to campaign and let people know about these candidates that aren't taking any big money, that aren't beholden to anyone, because that's who we need to support. And if we can support those people and those candidates, then we can get real gun legislation passed. That's all I really have to say there. But I am going to sign off because I've been on this video for about 20 minutes now. I'm sorry it took a little slow. It was a little slow coming out. But I hope you all have a good rest of your day. And only support candidates that are not beholden to anyone outside of people. Thank you guys. I will see you all later. Have a good Sunday. Bye.